Welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. We'll talk about our Week 1 opponents and preview those games here coming up in just a little while. But right now, as you see, we are joined by our Week 0 Westmoreland Sports Network Player of the Week. He is Jake Phillips from the Hempfield area Spartans. A huge game for him. I say game, actually half for him, as the second half was wiped out because of the lightning delay. Jake in the first half was 14 for 16, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns plus a rushing touchdown. Jake, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Jake, what was it like getting onto the field? You know, you're here, you're playing your senior year. There's a lot of potential for you guys this year, but just like any football player, man, you go through training camp, you go through all the practices, and the cliche says you finally get to hit someone with a different color uniform, and it happens to be a rival in Greensburg Salem. Just how good did it feel to be off at field on Friday?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was a really unique feeling for me because I've never played at their home stadium before. Obviously, being a huge rivalry with us in the past, we kind of went into that game thinking like we need to make a statement here, essentially, because we believe that we're a completely different team than we were last season, as I believe we proved on the field. And the environment as a whole was just very similar, but also very different from anything I've experienced before in football. And with that being said, like I've been playing my whole life, and you get that feeling like your butterflies in your stomach, you're excited, but there's just something different about the first game of your senior year that is really, really special.
Well, and you talked to Sean Myers before the season started when we went around to camps, and you said one of the things you're most excited about this year is being able to play more local teams. So I'm sure playing in front of a big crowd, like you mentioned, was really exciting.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with Greensburg, I mean, probably half the guys in our starting lineup I'm familiar with or have played throughout my career. But there's also a whole nother level of environment in the stadium, too. I mean, so many more fans are encouraged to come out. And although Greensburg Stadium isn't huge, it was packed for sure. So the overall setting was awesome.
So from an offensive standpoint, Jake, it seemed like you guys had a specific game plan and you executed it perfectly in that first half. Is that kind of how, is that kind of how you saw it too?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been preparing for it all summer, all last year, and everyone kind of knew what was expected, and it was just up to us to follow through. And I believe that we did. We capitalized on our opportunities.
Well, part of that game plan was something that I don't know that many Hempfield fans knew you were going to implement. Greensburg Salem probably didn't either, and that was the Uptempo offense. Kind of tell us about that. Like, when was that implemented? Did the coaches get your input on it in the off season? Just kind of how did that come about now that you guys are kind of running this sometimes?
So Coach Ritz is big on the fast tempo offense, and I think he kind of saw the potential with our offense that we could handle it this year, and it's going to be tough for any other team to deal with, considering we're going as fast as we are. And I think that throughout the season, it's going to be deadly for us, and especially the way our players are executing. I mean, our line, you can't find too many more linemen in the whippeal that can get lined up and fire off the ball every single snap the way ours can. And same thing with our receivers. I mean, just their ability to get set and for me to snap the ball and them get moving is really what puts it all together.
Well, from your perspective at quarterback, I mean, is this kind of exciting to run this type of offense? Because again, I know that, you know, maybe it can be a challenge too, because things are flying so quickly. But it also seems like with moving that quickly, it seems like it could be something that really keeps everybody involved in the game every single snap.
Yeah, for sure. And then another big pro for me is a lot of times when you have 30 seconds before the snap of the ball to do nothing but think, and stress about what the defense is doing. When it comes down to tempo, I mean, it's just snap the ball and react. So everything they taught us over the summer and in practice during the week, it's just all ingrained in your brain and you just react. There's no like thinking and considering things. It's just play how you know how to play, and everything else will fall into its place.
You have several other weapons on offense that had big games too. Geno Caesar, Eli Benakonski, Katonka. I mean, all you guys were really clicking. How would you kind of evaluate some of the other real talented guys on offense and how big of a role they'll kind of play this year?
I mean, I could sit here and talk all day about my teammates. I mean, my guys, I've been with them all summer, most of them my whole football career, and they've just been nothing but hard work, like nose down and grind. And it especially speaks on our line. I mean, we have 5 linemen that I trust more than anything. I'm never doubting them or anything. They're picking up blitzes. Like, they're really like the heart of our team. And then in the backfield, Gino most of the time, and then also Eli. I mean, those two are studs. If you watch that film, there's not too many times all game where 2 or 3 guys tackled Gino or Eli, not to mention one. And then across the board too, we use like a tight end halfback pretty frequently with Eli Benikonski, Ben Blahovic, and Anthony Valano. And Anthony is our predominant guy that we'll use there. And Anthony's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he's all of 6'3", 230, and catches every ball I throw his way. He had a play against Salem where I actually thought he was tackled, and I looked to the sideline for the play, and he's 25 yards downfield by the time I look back. And on our wideouts too, you'd mentioned Katonka. We've got Kieran Littman. We've got Ian Tufts, Tyson Gregory. I mean, there's plenty. I could go on all day. But those guys, I mean, they just make plays. That's really what it comes down to. Danny and Ian and Kieran especially, because they're in there the most. But those guys have been working out all summer, and it really shows on the field. A lot of it also comes down to our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Tyler Zimmer.
Absolutely.
He has made a monumental impact on all of us. I mean, I alone have put on probably 30 pounds from last year. All of our receivers, same way. Everyone's moving great. And I mean, everyone has really turned into a better version of themselves from last year.
And it's all about, development, buying in. But obviously, Tyler, I've known him for a while, and he was an All-American at Seton Hill, and was always one of those guys that was just a proven leader. And it's great that he's on your coaching staff and as a strength and conditioning coach. Jake, from a defensive standpoint, you only gave up 3 points in that first half. You made a really nice defensive stand after Rubrecht busted an incredible run against you. I guess maybe that's not one you want to kind of reflect back on and look at it on film, but how do you kind of evaluate, how did the coaches feel that you guys played defensively in that first half?
So obviously there's going to be mistakes to be made all over the board, but what our coaches had really been preaching to us is to be physical and play how we know how to play. And I mean, we've been going over defenses all summer, and we knew we had a good game plan going into it. And I think our guys really played on the fly, and everyone was flying to the ball. And considering Rubrick being the player he is, only breaking one long run like that is pretty solid, but obviously you'd love to not have that. But that play is actually, most people would probably think that it was all bad, but on film, our right D end, I want to say, Ethan Shaw and Eli Benikonski, I mean, the hustle between those two on that play, they tracked them 85 yards and ended up tackling them on the 5. Ethan forced a fumble, which says a lot about our team. And at the end of the day, the other team's going to make plays too. So it's really just about controlling what you can control. And as a whole, I think our defense has come a long way from last year and is going to be solid this year.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. Plus Rubrecht, I mean, he's a great athlete, so he's certainly going to make plays. So it was a really strange situation. Have you ever gone through a lightning delay before?
Not that I can remember now.
So I know they had 2 minutes left or something like that in the first half. Lightning, they decided to wind the clock and just allow you guys to go into the locker room thinking that we would play a second half. It didn't happen. So what was kind of going on in the locker room? What were you guys doing to stay at least ready for the second half if you were going to play it?
So a lot of guys kind of were confused going to the locker room because we weren't given a ton of information, just that we had about 20, 30 minutes. We're going to head back out and stretch. But it was a mixture between just excitement and I can't even explain the feeling, but it was weird to an extent of we didn't know what was going to happen. Because we were thinking partially it might be game gets called, partially might be we go right back out there. And then it was really after the second delay that it got weird, because then at that point, you're tired at that point. All the toll on your body kind of sets in from the game and all of your adrenaline's gone. So at that point, wondering what was going to happen. So there was just mixed emotions in the locker room, honestly.
What are some of the ways, Jake, that you believe you've improved at quarterback, even since